This is the PB Tails Crush controller. It costs $45.99 and it has TMR sticks in it. That's the reason I wanted to test it, because TMR is usually something you see on controllers at twice this price. And up until recently, it was an enthusiast tier feature only. So the question for this one is, what got cut to hit that price? Now PB Tails sent this over for free, but the video is not sponsored, all opinions are my own, and they haven't seen this ahead of time. I've been using it on Windows, Steam Deck, Steam Machine, over Bluetooth, the dongle and wired, and I have some thoughts. Let's get into it. So let's start with the basics, what it is and how it feels, and then we'll get into the specific stuff. This is the China white version of the Crush. I specifically asked for the white one. You guys know I love white tech, and I do realize that the sticks are probably gonna become gross, but I just love white tech. It is what it is. Now in the box you get the controller, the 2.4 GHz dongle, and a cable. It's just a wireless controller in the standard Xbox layout with offset sticks, so face buttons on the right, D-pad on the bottom left, and it works over Bluetooth, the dongle, or wired with Type-C. It also works for iOS, Android, and Switch as well. You actually have a dedicated button to change it over to a Switch Pro controller. I think ergonomics are fantastic, to be honest. This is really just a standard controller. There's no really any experimentation with it. I think it feels pretty great. It's just the classic shape. The back is this soft plastic that feels really nice to the touch. It's not a grippy texture as such, but if I had to compare it, for example, to the Steam controller, which has this a bit rough plastic, this one is soft, almost rubber-like. So in practice, it holds better. It has that grippy feel, not because it has a texturized bag, but because it's just like a very soft rubber-like, and your hand kind of sticks to it. The shape is comfortable, it's a classic shape, and I had no fatigue using this controller over long sessions. And I think the weight also feels just about right. It's not too heavy, it's not one of those hollow, cheap feeling controllers. I think it's just right, and I said I've been using it for long sessions. I recorded the battery on this one at about 12 hours with the RGB, and without it I think they're advertising as long as 16 hours. I think it's somewhere between 12 and 16 hours for battery life, which is pretty standard for this type of controller. Now on the buttons, I think the D-pad is okay. It's not the best I've had. It's not too mushy. I would prefer it was a bit more clickable, but it is pretty standard. You can get a good input from it and you get good feedback when you press it. I think it's okay. If you're buying a controller specifically for fighting games or retro stuff where the D-pad is used a lot more, then you're probably not gonna like this one, but if a D-pad is not that big of a deal for you, this one does the job fine. Now the triggers on the back are analog, and they do read as analog. They have pretty okay travel. I think it's a bit longer than what I usually test on these controllers. The bumpers on this one are a bit loud. These are probably the only buttons that feel a bit cheap, and it's my one noise complaint. But you can press them anywhere along the bumper and they'll still activate, which I actually like, because in the clutch situation you don't really know where you're pressing, but they do feel a bit loud and a bit cheap feeling. The other cool thing this controller does is customization. I think it's part of the pitch on this one. Now the stick caps pull off and swap, and the case on top is actually a Mac case. It's a magnetic faceplate. It comes off and you can swap in a lot of different variants. They sell them on their website and they're actually pretty cheap. I think it's $6.99 for the faceplates. The stick caps I think are like $3. And PB Tails sent me this spare faceplate, which is actually a glow in the dark. Now the print itself on the faceplate looks kind of like a tiger print, but I think it actually looks really cool. And the glow in the dark stuff, you obviously have to charge it with light, leave it at the sun or something like that, and it doesn't last a long time. It's kind of a gimmick, but I think it looks pretty cool. Now, whether that matters to you depends entirely on how much you care about how your controllers look and if you want to customize them. Again, in terms of customization, this controller has a lot of RGB. You have this strip on the bottom and you have RGB on the main button as well as the face buttons, and you can customize that as well. You can have different modes. It can glow, and it can glow in rainbow color, in wave patterns. You can select specific color. There's a ton of stuff you can do here with the colors, and I think on the white version specifically, the RGB looks a lot better than on any of the colored versions. If that's your sort of thing, it's great that you have this option. Now on to some specific stuff, starting with the reason this controller is interesting at this price point, which I think is the sticks. They are TMR, as I said, and quick context on TMR if you haven't heard about it yet. So TMR is the latest technology in analog sticks. It promises almost zero stick drift, or at least it's very resistant to stick drift. TMR is tunneling magnetoresistance, and it gives you a clear signal, higher resolution, lower power draw, less chance of a stick drift. It's the go-to technology for sticks right now, and I think this is my 4th or 5th controller with TMR sticks now, and honestly I can't see myself going back even to Hall effect sticks, let alone to the original technology for sticks, which is so prone to stick drift, and so many first-party sellers still use that. But yeah, these ones are great, and the tension on these sticks, I think it's kind of a standout for me, because I've had a few controllers in the last couple of months where the sticks feel way too light, almost like there's nothing pushing back, and these feel weighty, but they're still very smooth. It's sort of middle ground between a pro controller and a regular one. The one part about these sticks I don't like is the caps themselves. They are soft rubber, but there's almost no texture grip on them, so my thumbs slip off more than I would want, especially in anything where you're holding a stick fully pressed for a while, like running in a game. It's not a deal breaker, you can buy different caps for the sticks, but just know that this is there. Now for connectivity, I use this on Windows, Steam Deck, Steam Machine, and I had no issues pairing it over Bluetooth or over the 2.4 GHz dongle. It works on the Steam Deck, it works on the Steam Machine, it works on the Windows, no issues at all. Steam detects it as an Xbox wireless controller over both the Bluetooth and the dongle, so there's no per game configuration that you need to do. So Steam input treats it like any other Xbox controller, and I had no dropouts, I had no reconnect delays, no range issues. On the Steam Machine I was sitting probably 3 to 5 meters out in my living room, which is probably a normal couch distance, and it was fine the whole time. I didn't have any connection issues, and I think for my use case, which is casual playing, both Bluetooth and the dongle felt good enough. I couldn't tell you if there is a perceivable difference between them in normal play. If you're playing something competitive, you will probably want the dongle, but for most people, even Bluetooth is perfectly fine. Now, if you guys are enjoying this breakdown and you're into Steam hardware, gaming handhelds and cool tech, I do all of that on this channel, consider subscribing. Now, as I said, this can also be used with Android, iOS, and with the Switch. I don't have a Switch to test this out, but they do have a specific Switch mode. And from what I read online, it works great without any issues. I just can't confirm that at the moment. Now, my one real complaint, and I think it was unavoidable at this price point, is the lack of back buttons or extra buttons. I think at this point I've gotten too used to having them on controllers, and going back to a controller without them takes some adjusting. I really love my extra buttons, but at $49.99 I guess you can't really ask for that, and that's kind of the whole point of this controller. It had to cut something to keep this budget, and if the extra buttons are not a deal breaker for you, I think you're still gonna have a great time with this one. But I am interested, are the back paddles or extra buttons at the top a must-have for you at this point, or can you live without them on the controller? Let me know in the comments below. So where does that leave us? If you want back paddles or a proper software suite with per game profiles and remapping and this sort of stuff, I think this controller is not going to be for you. You'd be looking something in a bigger price range, maybe $70 to $90, $100 range instead, and I featured other controllers that fit that description. But if what you want is TMR sticks that don't drift, 3 connection modes, proper analog triggers, no software to install, and something that just works on the Steam Deck, on the Steam Machine, or on your Windows setup, or even on your mobile phones, with zero setup, zero hassle, I think this is a great controller for the money, and I absolutely recommend it. For me, it is a buy at this price. I think it's one of the easier recommendations I've made for a controller. That's gonna be it on the PB Tails Crush controller. If you guys enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like. If you hated it, leave a dislike. and let me know what I can do to improve. And if you're into Steam, Steam Deck, Steam hardware, gaming handhelds, and cool tech like this, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.